Welcome back, everybody. We're diving deep today
Ooh, diving deep.
into Ouspensky's Fourth Way.
Okay.
And we're using all the excerpts and notes that you've all given us.
Right?
So it's a system for understanding,
Yeah.
like all the deeper laws of life.
Hmm.
And using that knowledge for self-development, right?
Yeah, self-development is a big part of it. So Ouspensky's Fourth Way, it really sets itself apart from like those traditional paths, of self-discovery. It's not about like abandoning your life or, retreating from the world.
Yeah.
Instead, it's all about inner transformation, but like right in the middle of everything.
Okay, so like in the thick of it all.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, he kind of throws down a gauntlet right from the start. you know,
Yeah.
with that whole man as a machine concept.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think about that when you first encountered that?
It's provocative, for sure.
Yeah.
He argues that most people live in a state of like waking sleep,
Oh, wow.
controlled by external influences,
Okay.
lacking true consciousness.
So like not even a little bit sleepy,
No.
but like fully asleep?
Completely asleep at the wheel.
Oh, okay.
We're like robots, just reacting panically
Mm.
instead of acting with intention.
Right. Okay, I get that. Like we can get caught up in routines
Yeah.
and just like reacting to things.
Mm-hmm.
But isn't there room in there somewhere for free will?
That's the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's what he's grappling with.
Okay.
And he uses the idea of like the many eyes
Oh, right.
to illustrate this,
Okay.
Imagine hundreds of little eyes inside you,
Okay.
each with its own desires, impulses, often contradictory wills.
Right.
This constant conflict, it makes it almost impossible to have like a unified will.
Oh, I see.
So we just end up reacting
Yeah.
to whatever's loudest at the moment.
It's like that feeling of being pulled in a million directions at once, right?
Yes,
It's
exactly.
like when you say yes to 3 social events in one night. Or when you start like a dozen projects and finish 0.
Yeah, that's it.
Is that what he means by being a machine?
That's a perfect example.
Okay.
It's not that we're literally machines,
Right.
but we function mechanically, driven by external forces and our unconscious habits.
So he's not pulling any punches, it sounds like.
No, he's not.
So if we're all basically sleepwalking through life,
Yeah.
how the heck do we wake up?
That's where self-remembering comes in.
Okay.
And it's not just good memory, right?
All right.
It's about cultivating this heightened state of awareness in the present moment.
So being conscious of ourselves, like AS, we're thinking and feeling and acting.
Yes, you got it.
Okay.
And Ouspensky, he goes even deeper with this idea that there are different levels of consciousness.
Oh, okay.
Simply realizing that we lack true awareness is a step towards it.
It's like we're on a ladder and realizing that we're on like a low run.
Exactly.
But even that is progress.
It's progress. That's the first step.
I like how he used the analogy of like degrees of self-remembering being like distances,
Yeah.
Like sometimes you're 5,000 miles away, sometimes only 3,000.
Precisely.
Okay.
And even a slight increase in awareness, it's a move in the right direction.
Okay.
A step closer to that unified image.
Okay.
Have you ever had an experience where you felt that like heightened sense of awareness, like that being present in a way that you usually aren't?
Definitely. There are those moments, especially when I'm like out in nature, where everything seems to sharpen. Like colors are more vivid.
Yeah.
Sounds are crisper. It's almost like stepping out of a fog.
Yes.
But they're so fleeting, those moments.
They are fleeting, but those fleeting moments, they're glimpses of what's possible when we break free from our, mechanicalness.
So glimpses of our potential.
Exactly. Glimpses of our potential.
Okay, so that's like the individual level.
Right.
But then he also talks about this like grand cosmic scheme, right?
Yes.
The ray of creation. It's like a blueprint for existence with all these different levels.
It is. It's a mind-blowing concept.
Yeah.
Ray of creation. It illustrates how forces descend from the absolute, the ultimate source.
Okay.
And become like increasingly divided and mechanical as they create new worlds.
And he connects this to the law of 3, right?
Yes.
Where like every event
Yeah.
is a result of 3 forces interacting.
Exactly. 3 forces, always.
So it starts with the absolute.
The absolute, world 1.
World 1.
Where the 3 forces are unified.
Okay.
Then as these forces descend and create new worlds, they become divided.
Okay.
World 3, World 6, World 12.
Yeah.
Each level adds its own 3 forces.
Right.
And things get more mechanical
Yeah.
the further you move from the absolute.
His descriptions of this are just so incredibly detailed.
They are.
Like World 6 having 3 forces from the preceding world, 3 of its own.
Yes.
World 12 then has 3 from World 3.
Right.
6 from World 6.
Yeah.
3 of its own.
It's like this cosmic math problem.
It really is.
Unfolding.
Unfolding.
It's not random, though.
Yeah.
It speaks to this, like, inherent intelligence woven into the universe itself.
Okay.
Yeah.
So where do we fit into this whole thing?
That's the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Here on Earth.
Yeah. Here on Earth, where are we on this cosmic blueprint?
That's the million-dollar question.
It is.
Ouspensky, he challenges us to consider where we find ourselves on this ray of creation and what it means to be so far removed from the source of pure consciousness.
Right.
And even more importantly, how can we begin to move closer to it?
Closer to that source.
Yeah.
So if we're all these like sleeping machines
Right.
stuck way down here on the ray of creation, what are we supposed to do about it?
Well, Ouspensky, he doesn't leave us hanging.
Yeah.
He gives us some very specific tools.
Okay.
And they all start with becoming more conscious of where we're leaking energy.
This is where we get to that feeding the moon idea, right? Yes.
That one really caught my attention, I gotta say.
It's a powerful metaphor.
Yeah.
Think about how drained you feel after a day of arguing or stewing in anxiety.
Right.
Ouspensky would say you've been feeding the moon with that negative energy.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
I'm starting to see how this connects to that whole man is a machine idea.
Yes.
If we're letting our negative emotions run the show, we're not really in control, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Those unpleasant, violent, or depressing emotions, as he calls them, they don't actually serve us.
Okay.
They just keep us trapped in this cycle of reactivity.
Okay. But aren't some negative emotions natural, though? Like if something bad happens, it's normal to feel sad or angry about it, right?
He would agree that the initial feeling is natural.
Okay.
It's what we do with that emotion that matters.
Oh, okay.
He says we create an artificial center within ourselves that perpetuates these negative states.
So it's like we're building this little drama queen inside us.
Yeah.
Who loves to stir up trouble
and
keep us miserable.
Keep us miserable.
Is that kind of what he means by artificial center?
It's a vivid image.
Yeah.
And it highlights how we often identify with our suffering and let it define us instead of just experiencing the emotion. Get caught up in the story around it.
Yeah.
And that's what drains our energy.
It's like adding fuel to the fire.
Yeah, exactly.
So how do we stop feeding this inner drama queen?
That's the question, right?
Yeah. How do we stop feeding the moon?
It starts with observation.
Okay.
Becoming aware of how often we indulge in negative emotions without judgment.
Okay.
That's the first step.
I'm sensing a theme here,
What's that?
Like awareness.
Yeah.
Self-remembering. It all comes back to paying attention, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And once we see where our energy's going,
yeah,
we can start to reclaim it and direct it towards something more productive.
I like that.
Yeah.
Think about how much energy you could free up.
I know, right?
If you weren't constantly feeding that negativity.
Exactly.
It makes you wonder what we could actually accomplish.
Yeah.
If we weren't all running around like battery-drained robots,
That's the potential that Ouspensky points to.
Yeah.
By reclaiming that energy, we can break free from the mechanical and move towards the conscious.
And this is where his ideas about school come in, right?
Yeah.
And the 3 lines of work.
Exactly.
He emphasizes that, while individual effort is essential, we can't do this work alone.
No, we can't.
We need the support of a school.
Right.
And the guidance of those who've already walked the path. So it's not just about, meditating on a mountaintop.
No.
It's about finding the right kind of community.
Yeah.
And support structure.
Support structure is key.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, especially when you consider how much of our, sleepwalking comes from societal conditioning.
Absolutely, yeah.
He outlines 3 interconnected lines of work.
Yes.
Work on oneself.
Right.
Work with others in a school setting, and then work for the school or a larger purpose.
3 lines of work.
It's like that 3-legged stool analogy. You need all 3 for stability.
That's a good one.
But I feel like each line has its own challenges.
They do. They absolutely do.
Work on oneself, that requires a lot of self-discipline.
Yeah.
And radical honesty, right? Work with others that demands patience, compassion, and seeing beyond our own egos.
Yeah, it's tough.
And working for the school requires dedication to something larger than ourselves.
Yes, absolutely.
But finding a genuine school, one that offers what he calls C influences,
yes,
that seems like the biggest challenge to me.
It can be. It can be.
What did he mean by C influences anyway?
He's referring to ideas and practices that you wouldn't encounter in ordinary life. Things that are designed to like jolt you out of your habitual patterns and expose you to higher levels of knowledge.
So it's like learning a secret language.
Yes.
That lets you communicate on a different frequency.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay.
A secret language.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like trying to learn advanced calculus without a teacher.
Exactly.
Or a textbook.
You might figure out some things.
Yeah.
But you'll probably miss crucial pieces and make a lot of mistakes.
Costly mistakes. Yeah.
Costly mistakes, yeah.
Ouspensky, he warns about the dangers of wrong schools, right?
He does. He does.
Which can lead to confusion and misguided efforts.
Yes, exactly.
So finding a genuine school seems pretty essential.
It's essential for navigating this path, for sure.
So we've got like external challenges, finding the right school, resisting the wrong ones. But he also talks about these internal obstacles that we all face, right?
They do.
He calls them false personality and buffers. These are like two major stumbling blocks.
Right, major stumbling blocks.
On the path of self-development.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so false personality.
The false personality.
That's like all the masks we wear, right?
The masks we wear.
The idols we've constructed based on social conditioning.
Right.
And our need for approval.
Approval from others, yeah.
It's like this protective shell.
Right. Shell, yes.
That keeps us from seeing our true selves.
Our true selves.
So those times when I'm pretending to be more confident or knowledgeable than I actually feel, that's my false personality in action.
That's it.
Okay, that's the false personality. And the danger is that we become so identified with these masks.
We do.
That we forget who we are beneath them.
We forget who we really are.
Yeah, it's like we build this elaborate costume.
Yeah.
And then get so used to wearing it that we forget we even have a real face underneath.
A real face underneath, yeah.
Okay, what about buffers then?
Buffers?
How do those fit in?
Think of buffers as shock absorbers for our egos.
Our egos?
They protect us from seeing our own contradictions.
Right.
And facing uncomfortable truths about ourselves.
So they're like rose-colored glasses that prevent us from seeing the world and ourselves too clearly.
Too clearly, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great analogy.
They soften the blows of reality, right?
They soften the blows.
So we don't have to confront the bumps in the road.
Exactly. They make it more comfortable.
But that kind of comfort, like Ouspensky points out, it keeps us asleep.
Asleep at the wheel.
Prevents us from doing the real work of self-discovery.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
The comfort keeps us asleep.
I'm starting to see how insidious these things can be.
Yeah.
If we're not even aware of our false personality and our buffers, how can we possibly work on ourselves?
That's why he emphasizes the importance of self-observation.
Okay.
Working with others.
Yeah.
In a school setting. It's much easier to see our own blind spots when we have the support and feedback of others who are on the path.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
And the worst kind of imagination, according to Ouspensky, is believing that we can do it all alone.
Alone, yes.
He's adamant that working in a school setting, under the guidance of a teacher, and alongside fellow students, provides a unique opportunity for accelerated growth.
It does.
He calls it a subjective way, right?
Yes, it's subjective.
Like a more direct path.
Yeah, more direct.
Compared to the slow and uncertain progress you might make on your own.
Stumbling along on your own.
Yeah, exactly.
Stumbling along.
It makes me think about the difference between learning a language by immersion versus trying to learn it on your own from a textbook.
Yeah, good analogy.
You might make some progress with the textbook, but you'll miss the nuances and the real-life application.
Real-life stuff.
That comes from being in the right environment.
Yeah, the right environment is key.
Yeah.
That's a great way to put it.
Ouspensky, he acknowledges that some individuals, you know, with the right temperament and favorable circumstances might be able to make progress on what he calls the objective way.
The objective way, yeah.
Without a formal school structure.
Yeah, without a school.
But he cautions that it's a much slower, more arduous path.
Arduous, yeah.
With fewer opportunities for verification and course correction.
Course correction is important.
Seems like he's presenting a pretty stark choice here.
Yeah.
Either you find a legitimate school and you commit to this, like, intense work, or you're just stuck on the slow, meandering path of, like, ordinary life.
Right.
It almost makes you feel like you're failing if you're not part of a formal school.
I can understand how you might feel that way.
Yeah.
But Ouspensky, he also emphasizes that even if we haven't found a formal school yet, we can still apply the principles of the fourth way in our daily lives.
So even if we're not like fluent in the secret language of a specific school, we can still pick up some useful phrases along the way.
Absolutely. Yeah. The key is to remember that this work is ultimately about like transforming ourselves, becoming more conscious, more awake to the reality of our being.
Okay.
And that work can begin anywhere.
Yeah.
At any time.
Okay. That makes me feel a little bit better.
Good.
But he's not exactly known for sugarcoating the effort required.
No, he's not.
Like going against the current, doing the impossible, paying in advance. Those phrases don't exactly sound like a walk in the park.
He definitely challenges us to step outside our comfort zones, to confront our mechanical nature, and resist the inertia of our habits.
So it's more about those small, consistent efforts, those moments of self-remembering, those choices to like not feed the moon with our negativity.
Exactly. Every effort we make, no matter how small, it leaves a trace.
Okay.
It plants a seed for future growth.
That reminds me of something you said about how recurrence isn't eternal.
Right.
Like even if we believe in the idea of living multiple lives, it's not just this endless loop, right?
It's not an endless loop.
We still have choices to make.
We do.
And each one matters.
Every choice matters.
This has been a truly mind-bending deep dive, I gotta say.
It has been.
I feel like I've been given a whole new set of lenses.
Oh, cool.
To view myself and the world through.
It's fascinating, isn't it?
It really is.
How he weaves together these cosmic principles, these laws governing existence, and brings them down to the level of our everyday struggles with negative emotions and the illusions that we create.
He doesn't give us easy answers, that's for sure.
No, he doesn't.
But he offers a powerful framework for understanding ourselves and our potential.
And remember, even if it feels overwhelming, even if you haven't found a formal school or a teacher, you can still start by incorporating these principles into your life.
Okay.
Start with self-observation, becoming more aware of your mechanical reactions and those moments when you're feeding the moon.
Great advice. So for you listening out there, if you could choose one negative emotion to permanently eliminate from your life?
Ooh, good question.
Which would it be?
That is a good question.
And why?
Yeah, why that one?
How might that change open up new possibilities for you?
What energy might you reclaim?
Yeah.
What doors might open if you were free from that particular burden?
That's a good one.
It is.
Thank you for joining us on this fascinating exploration of Ouspensky's fourth way.
It's been a pleasure.
It's been a deep dive indeed. Keep those wheels turning.
Keep them turning.
And don't forget to feed yourself.
Feed yourself.